Everybody, welcome back. I did a recent video on Atari 2600 arcade games, and it was so unpopular, I thought I would do it again. That's right, so welcome back. If you saw the first one, if not, you can check it out. I'll put a link somewhere. I don't know where they show up anymore, but I'll put one. So here's another batch of Atari arcade conversions to the 2600, and here we have Galaxian, not Galaga, which was the sequel, but Galaxian, and this is a pretty solid port if you ask me. It gives you everything you want. I would have been thrilled to have this back in the day, so that's all I can say about it. It is what it is. It wasn't my favorite arcade game because this one's a little boring. And also, hey, you guys may notice, this one I decided to capture to make it a little cleaner. I didn't capture it on an actual TV. So, I mean, you're going to see stuff blink in and out sometimes, but don't worry about that. That doesn't happen. I thought recording this at 60 frames would pick it up, but evidently things just time a little wrong still, so you might see some blinking. I think the next time I do one, I'll probably do it on all pure, real hardware and on a better TV screen that'll make it capture better and everything. But here we go. We're getting rolling. This is Galaxian. This one's definitely worth picking up. Most of these games that I have are either physical cartridges or they may have been part of one of those Atari plug and play. I got a couple of those systems. But this is one I got physically, and most of these I got at a store that we have in Maine here, and they're in New Hampshire and maybe another state or two, but they're called Bull Moose. And for a short time during the pandemic, I got back into Atari collecting because it was the only thing that was still pretty cheap, and I can go into a Bull Moose and find Atari cartridges for like $1 or $2. They started creeping up a little bit more now, but I got a lot of games during that time. So most of these games you're going to see were probably purchased for anywhere from maybe at the most $5, but the vast majority of stuff I got was probably $1.99. So that's pretty cool. So here we go. Here's the first one. Get this rolling. Arcade ports on the Atari 2600. This is Galaxian. All right, so here we have Kangaroo, and this was an Atari arcade game. I would play it at the Aladdin's Castle. That was just a short walk from us in the mall in Lewiston, Maine. And this wasn't one of my favorites. I'm not that good at it, and I'm not that good at this version either for the Atari 2600. But what's nice is they went a little beyond the two-screen standard that some games did, where, you know, a lot of games had multi-screens, but they'd only do a couple, like Donkey Kong did. This had 4 screens in the arcade, and it leaves out the one that it's the kind of final screen where you save your baby Joey. You gotta punch out these monkeys and get the cage to drop down, and you gotta do it before the monkeys climb up to the apple pile or something, but that's missing from this. But I can at least appreciate that they added 3 screens instead of just 2, so it gave it a little more replay value. And while it's not the greatest game in the world, I still think this gets a slight thumbs up for the fact that they put in the extra effort to get 3 of the 4 screens on there. And again, it's probably just due to memory constraints where they couldn't squeeze in one more, where they're just trying to save cash on that cartridge. It gives you the feel of the game slightly, and it's a little difficult as far as the platforming, so that's probably what gives it more challenge than it needs to. But there's also the monkeys throwing stuff at you, and those are supposed to be apples bouncing around. Don't think it's something else. They're throwing apples. And the big gorilla that kind of attacks you is missing. But with all that said, it's a pretty decent conversion to have in the home, so I give it a thumbs up. All right, here we have Mario Brothers, and this is actually one that I probably paid a little extra for. I think I got it on eBay for maybe $7 or something like that, so it wasn't too bad. But everyone talked about how good it was, and I was playing the just the first game, and the fireballs just come out like crazy all the time, and it really makes it hard to play the game because they're just after you nonstop. It's not like they come out randomly. It's just like one appears and then it goes across and it appears somewhere else. They give you a little flash to kind of give you an idea that's coming out, but it makes the game really hard and it makes it difficult to get far. So if you try some of the other variations on here, you can turn off the fireballs and get pretty far. So another game that was primarily, all the Nintendo stuff was at Aladdin's Castle. Now, Mario Brothers, I'm sure, was in some other places around because it was a very popular game, but that's where I remember playing it the most. And they've got everything in here pretty much. They've got the ice guys that freeze your areas. They got the hopping character, the crabs, all that stuff. So I found this is a really good port. I have not had a chance to play it with someone else yet in two-player mode, which I'm sure would make it pretty fun. The only problem with this for me is you only have enemies on one platform at a time. They can't cohabitate, and that's probably because of the potential for two-player and also to have the coins move around freely. So if you flip an enemy on one level, the other enemy's not going to drop yet. But, you know, that's a pretty small issue considering what they were able to do to create a port, because I think this Mario looks much better than the one in Donkey Kong. So another one that I give a thumbs up, but again, you've got to be able to get it for a decent price. All right, here we have Lock and Chase. I've never in my life seen Lock and Chase in an arcade. I haven't to this day. I even went to Fun Spot in New Hampshire. It might be there. I've been there a couple times. Maybe it's there, and maybe I just never saw it. But that's a pretty big arcade. But in the past, I don't remember ever seeing this anywhere. So I don't know what it was about this game. Maybe it wasn't very popular. I didn't even know how to play this. I mean, I can tell it's kind of a Pac-Man clone. So after playing it, you'll see here at first, I'm just picking up the stuff and leaving the exits and stuff. So I'm cleaning out. What it is you're like a robber or something, and these are cops. And a money bag will appear on the top center, and then like a special item. So that's supposed to be money bag, I think. And then on the little below that, you might get another item that pops up, and that's supposed to be like a special item, and you're supposed to collect those. So you can still collect them. You don't get to see what they exactly are, but no big deal. But it's kind of a Pac-Man game. It goes on. And I didn't realize until reading the manual after I played it that Lock and Chase is part of it. The lock part is you can throw up a barrier and you can block the people that are chasing you. So that's kind of cool. I find it's kind of hard to figure out sometimes. Maybe I just don't understand, because sometimes I'll be running and I go to put up a barrier and I put it up in front of myself. And then I'm trapped and they get me right away. So I don't know. I'm going to have to play it more because it was fun. And the cops are pretty aggressive, so it's a good challenge. I would say this is another game that I give a thumbs up to because it just has a solid challenge to it. If you didn't have Pac-Man, I think you would have really enjoyed this as an option or an alternative. All right, now we have the follow-up to Centipede, and that's Millipede, and the action on here is even more hectic than on Centipede. I mean, you've got the DDT bombs, which are cool. You've got the Millipede coming at you now. You got spiders. You got all kinds of other things flying down at you. Just waves and waves of stuff, and it is so hectic. It's fantastic. It handles really well considering you're using a joystick. So they did a good job mimicking that feel of a rollerball on the Atari. And the graphics, while simple, I mean, the mushrooms are the only thing that you're disappointed with the look of because they're just a little rectangle. But everything else has plenty of character to it. I mean, it can just get insane. The action is just crazy, non-stop, hectic. Just to get high scores on this and keep improving your high score is going to be something that you'd enjoy doing. This is an absolute must-have for an arcade conversion on the 2600. All right, here we go. This game may look familiar from the end credits of Fast Time at Ridgemont High. This is Missile Command, and another Atari trackball game. I mean, they were all in on trackball games back then, and I mean, I don't know if they were the ones that first designed this controller, but they leaned into it heavy, and they've done a great job at converting this to the Atari 2600. This game plays superb. I don't know why I don't remember it being this good, but when I played this, I couldn't stop. I probably played for about 20 minutes straight and got pretty high. And I gotta say, they got a good increment in the level of difficulty on each stage so that you can not just get burnt out on just the first few stages. You actually can get up to like a 10, 12, 15th stage, and it was super fun. And I just don't know why I've never really liked Missile Command before, but boy, while playing it for this video, this just hit me right in the heart and soul, and I had a great time. I really wanted to protect all my bases and stuff. They've got the amount of pace for your little cursor to go around the screen just perfect. You can zigzag around in plenty of time to get everything if you develop your skills. So this one, it's probably not very expensive. I'd imagine they sold lots of Missile Command cartridges. This one's an absolute pickup if you get the chance. And I'd pay easily $5 for this out in the wild. You could probably get it a little cheaper, but that, if you love it more than me, which you might, maybe you'd pay up to $10. I don't know. It depends on how much you play it. So there you go. Lots of intense action, trying to save the world from nuclear annihilation. Great controls. What more could you want? There we go. That's Missile Command by Atari. Perfect. Near perfect, I'll say. Arcade port. All right, we got Moon Patrol. Here's proof if you ever wondered if we were on the moon. Does this not prove it? Look, here we are. We're on the moon. Look, there's craters, there's rocks, and I believe there's space aliens too up there. So either that or they're native to the moon. How do we know? How do we know? We've been there. That's why we know. But I'm saying, look, this is a game that's a little difficult. You have a limited amount of zone that you can move back and forth in, and lots of stuff coming at you. This one, I remember mostly playing at the bowling alley because at the time my dad was an assistant manager there, and we had to go there early one Sunday morning because someone broke in and stole a bunch of money from the place. They discovered that the bowling alley had a skylight on the roof in one of the storage rooms, and someone knew it was up there. I don't know how they knew it was up on the roof, but they broke in through that skylight one night and went in and stole money from, I don't think the registers, but they bashed open all the arcade machines and stole all the quarters from them. So the arcade machines, when we showed up, my father was waiting for the police to show up, and we foolishly, I guess it's not tampering with evidence. We're just kids. We went in and the doors were all smashed open, so we were hitting the little coin return things in there and getting credits, and we were playing games before the cops showed up. So, not the best way to leave a crime scene pristine, with a bunch of grubby-fingered kids handling all the evidence. But we played this a bunch. I think Phoenix was there too, and we played a bunch of Phoenix. But Moon Patrol was one of the ones we played a lot. Not that I didn't play it anyway, because we were there at the bowling alley a lot. So it was nice that the bowling alley had its own arcade and had a unique kind of batch of games that would come into there because they weren't in the other. And we had a ton of arcades in our town. But the bowling alley always seemed to get these weird, quirky games that weren't really popular in some of the other places. So that's where I played Moon Patrol. And this game actually, to me, is more fun on the Atari. I don't know why. Again, maybe it's just because it's at home, and it was just really fun. I was surprised because I was thinking about Moon Patrol. I remember this game just being like, nah, okay, it's kind of quiet. There's not a lot of noise in this one, but there's a good challenge with the throwing rocks at you and throwing different, potholes or craters at you, and then the aliens. And again, you only got about a quarter of the screen where you can zip back and forth, so you got to be really careful about enemy fire. I don't know. Maybe things are just smacking me right this time, but another game that I'm having a lot of fun with, and I'd recommend if you can get it for a good price. Here we go, everybody. Miss Pac-Man, the Redeemer. this was such an improvement on Pac-Man, and this was the only game my mother would ever play. I don't think she may have played Frogger once or twice, but I'm not even sure about that. But Miss Pac-Man, she would play this at the bowling alley because there was a Miss Pac-Man machine and a Pac-Man machine and an Astro. So a lot of those old early classics were at the bowling alley, and because we were at the bowling alley so often between all of us having leagues and stuff, she would play this. And when it came home, I think it's the only game I ever saw her play at home either. I don't know if she's ever played a video game before or since, really. But Miss Pac-Man was the one game in her history that she would play. So I was really psyched when this came out, and it was such a good conversion, because if you want to see, I've got another video of comparing the Pac-Mans. Maybe I'll put a link down there for you. But I get a lot higher on that video. This one I just kind of did real quick just to get to the second screen, but you'll see that you can get much higher, and all the levels are here. They're not arcade perfect, but they're really close enough to make anybody that's a fan of Miss Pac-Man happy. This is a must-have in the Atari 2600 catalog of arcade conversions. And here we go. Here's the stinker. Here's the one that we all were so disappointed with. This one doesn't disappoint me as much as Donkey Kong did. But again, the sounds are horrible. The flicker's horrible. You might see that there's only 2 ghosts on screen at a time because the recording of this. They'll pop up now and then. But they're all there. Trust me, they just flicker a lot. And it was just such a huge disappointment when they could have done so much better. I mean, even Pac-Man and the ghosts, I could forgive. They're not that horrible, but why couldn't they make the maze closer? Is this another one of those scenarios where they don't talk about it? It really was the company saying, you know what, you can't make this port too good because then people aren't going to play in the arcades. And with Pac-Man, even though they wanted to bring it out to systems, it was still doing incredibly well in arcades. So they didn't want to hurt that. I mean, every corner store, every pizza joint. It's hard to say that when you've seen other versions that came out around the same time that look so much better. So I don't know. I think this was almost like a prototype that they were like, well, it's good enough. We got to get it out fast. We don't need to work on the maze anymore. Here you go. So again, disappointing. It actually plays okay. The hit detection's it's pixel on pixel hit detection. Well, there you go. There's Pac-Man. I mean, some people love it still on Atari. Not me. I've got better ways to play, and it doesn't fill me up with any warm memories. So for me, it's a pass on this one. All right, let's make this short and sweet, or maybe short and incredibly bitter, because here's a prototype of Tempest, and I got this on some collection of the plug-and-play stuff, and I think they just decided to put it out for the heck of it, but this is horrible. Let's not even deal with this long. You can give this a try if you can find the ROM out there, but remember, this was a prototype that they never released, and they never should have. I don't think it even should have been released as a prototype so people could see how it played, because this is pure garbage. Yeah, it looks like it might play good looking at this, but it doesn't. It's just horrible. And if you can't smell this steaming pile of horse crap through your screen, well, I'd be surprised. You need to avoid this at all costs.
And what are your feelings about that, Mr. Horse?
No, sir, I don't like it.
All right, here we have Wizards and Warriors. Wait, am I getting this? Wizard of War. I don't know where that came from. I think I was watching a video on an NES thing the other day. Wizard of War, and this is a great conversion to from the arcade. This is without having played the arcade game in 30 years. I can really tell that this is what it felt like, because I do remember playing this. It was fun to play with 2 players, and I can't remember, in single player mode you might have even had the other guy come out, and he was like an artificial intelligence guy, you know, he just was a second player that would come out on the screen with you and help a little bit. But maybe that's just a Mandela effect memory from this game that's popping in my head. But this is really fun. Again, you know, you're going to see the flickering here. I think next time, again, like I said, I'm going to capture off a TV so there's even less flickering like this. This was super fun to play. It's a good maze chase game. These things are very chaotic the way they move around. And once it gets, if you leave a few on screen and they get really fast, it gets super difficult to track them down. And then getting onto, like, there's the, you know, the wizard pops up, or the other character, I don't even know what he was called, but the wizard's just sporadic. He's popping up here and there and everywhere. It's so hard to get him, so it's really, really satisfying to be able to get him. There's a lot of skill and a lot of luck in this, so it's something you can improve your gameplay, but you also have to get lucky sometimes, and that's really what it's all about with Wizard of War. But there you go. There's another 11 arcade conversions to the Atari 2600, and the vast majority of these are worth picking up. Or, you know, I know the new modern systems are out now where you can buy them. Maybe that's worth getting. You know, you got to put yourself in the right mindset, though. Just remember, this is the Atari 2600. You've got to place yourself back in time. And now, being older, I can appreciate even more when they made a good arcade conversion than I could when I was younger, because when I was younger, I just thought, why can't they make it better? Now I know why they can't make it better, but I also know that they could have made it better, at least. They could have tried harder. And a lot of times it was just trying to get a quick money grab, and they were trying to pump out the game based off its name. They wanted to pump it out as fast as possible and just make sure they're hitting the right season where they could get money from it. And that's a shame, because a lot of these other games that were just average could have been so much better. And if they would have been willing to give a larger memory space to the game, they could have put more levels. So, but that's neither here nor there now. We got what we got, and I am just basing my opinions off of how fun these are today, considering the limitations of the system. So there we go. That's another batch of Atari arcade conversions, and I hope you enjoy this. I got a lot more of this stuff on my channel. Check it out if you like, and I will see you next time. So long.